But if we go into the camp and he's not there, we'll never get another chance. Once he hears a couple of ATF agents were looking for him, he'll be on the next bus to California. Stoddard took another look through the binoculars. What if you went down alone, undercover? What do you mean undercover? I'd never fit in. They'd pick me out in a second. Stoddard hesitated. I mean, they are your people. Duarte was confused. What was his redneck partner talking about? Stoddard added, You know what I mean. Spanish. Duarte turned to him. I doubt any of those little people picking fruit are from Spain. And I was born in West Palm Beach, so I don't know what you mean. I know you're a little taller and dressed nice. I just meant that they'd pick me right out. Duarte said, I can get down there and get a good look without mixing in the crowd. I'll call if I see anything. He opened the car door and slid out. He wore a loose shirt over a t-shirt that showed a surfer on a Costa Rican beach. Also under the loose shirt was a Glock Model 22 .40 caliber pistol. Stoddard started to get out too. You wait here. We'll need the car if I see him. What do you mean? Why are you going down there if you don't think you can mix in? Duarte shut the door. He had faith his partner would figure out what he was doing. He tromped off through the weeds in the vacant lot next to the car. He could see the labor camp as it sunk away from the built-up highway, almost making it look like it was set up in a valley instead of the Florida swamp. Duarte crossed the highway a quarter of a mile from the entrance to the camp and then turned back, ducking low into the brush along the perimeter of the flat camp. He felt the stab of a Florida holly bush in his neck as he dropped down to the ground and began to crawl through the dirt. His faded jeans were a lot tighter than fatigues, but he still felt more comfortable doing this kind of activity than he would have trying to mix with the Central American laborers. The heat was bearable. It was May, but no one from the Northeast would consider the temperature spring-like. The camp itself had a dusty feel. The pathways and the single road were lime and unpaved. The soil out here in the glades were black and rich, but the sun dried the top layer in a matter of days, which contributed to the haze. In the distance, a cane field fire added a smell and a soft white dullness to the whole camp. Duarte didn't mind. In fact, he liked crawling around like this more than his usual duties at the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. At least he wasn't looking at gun store records or typing up a report. He traveled down one row of brush, then crossed over to another that ran closer to the line of trailers where people seemed to be coming from every few minutes. He found another row of brush turning right and switched onto it like he was on the 1 and 9 subway in New York. No one noticed his tall, thin frame slide through the mix of Florida holly, weeds, ficus, and areca palms. After a few minutes, he realized there was a system to the brush and figured out it was used as a wind barrier around certain crops. He found a good intersection and then settled in to look for Alberto Sales. From his hiding place, he could clearly see in 3 directions. It was comfortable in the shade of the brush. He had sat in worse spots in Bosnia, watching Serbian tanks make their short and usually unsuccessful assaults. He looked down at the scar that ran along his left forearm and thought about that unfortunate low crawl into barbed wire outside Broca. He didn't worry about barbed wire here. Of course, he hadn't worried about it in Bosnia either, and now he had a 14-inch scar that itched most nights while he lay awake. He reached down and unclipped his Nextel cell phone and carefully turned off all the rings and beeps, placing everything on vibrate. Then he chirped his partner. In a low whisper, he said, Chuck, I'm in place. Stand by. I'm looking with the binoculars. Where are you? He kept his voice low, even though no one was close, and there was a lot of noise from the traffic on the highway, and salsa music blaring from one of the trailers. I'm directly south of the office trailer with the 2 red flags. After a minute, his phone